we really appreciate you taking the time to just talk to us about cultural awareness and some of the things we had talked about earlier.
Okay, no problem whatsoever. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, they said.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, do you have specific questions, or do you want me to just go in and start?
Yeah, why don't you just kind of get started, kind of based off of what we had talked about, just being culturally aware and making sure that we're, recognizing all students, and just some of the questions that I had asked about how to address some of the topics that have come up.
Sure. First of all, I feel bad about not being able to get down there to talk with each one of you or as a group. There are a couple of things that I want to make sure that you clearly understand. First is that you have not done anything incorrect. And so you get rid of any type of guilt you may have within yourself. We run into this quite often, that we are running into things that we haven't experienced before, and we don't really know how to handle it, and therefore we end up immediately feeling that it's our failure. And so I want you to stay away from getting into those particular mindsets. On the other hand, we do have to recognize that we have differences. We have differences in style. We have differences in approach to things. Most of you will notice that even my volume in talking to you is probably louder than most of your university professors that you had in the past. And my speech will be more direct and blunt than what most of them will do. They will go around the subjects. And one of the things that I want you to do is ask questions from me point blank if you don't understand. Getting into this cultural difference thing, one of the things that we have to understand is that we talk about not being heard. And when we say that, we always think we have to talk louder. The louder I talk, well, you're going to hear me. And just the louder I talk, the less you're going to listen, because you're going to start tuning out, who is this loud person? Well, the kids are doing the exact same thing. And so when you start tuning them out, now their anger or their attitudes start coming to fore. So one of the things that I'm asking you to do is understand when those situations are starting to arise. And rather than get frustrated yourself, is to now go in check mode. Wait a minute, am I reacting to the student? I'm letting the student get to me, so I'm reacting to them instead of taking charge of the situation myself. And one of the things that Heather explained to me was that you guys were running into some issues where the first thing the students come out of their mouth and say, are you doing this because I'm Black? Well, again, this is before you respond, you run check down lists. Well, wait a minute, the student is calling me out on this. Let me see, am I, and check down doesn't mean 5 hours. Check down mean a quick 10-second check within yourself before you respond to them. Like, oh, wait a minute, did I? I've not dealt with these students before. I've not dealt with people of color before. Am I doing something incorrectly? Because I am doing something from my own beliefs or my own biases. And then you reverse it on the student. Well, why would you say something of that nature? Why would you put that up? Have I ever done something to you before? Or have anyone here done something to you before because of race? And of course, some of them are going to say, well, yes. And then you say, well, I can't just let you go with saying something of that magnitude. You're going to have to tell me specific incidents. Well, let's talk about this before. Now you put them on defense, because now they have to say, well, wait a minute, when was this? And when did I do this? One of the other things that I caution you about, though, I caution you about doing it bluntly in front of their colleagues, because now you have shamed them in front of their colleagues, and they're not going to do anything but play total defense. And they only have one defense, and their only defense is anger. And with that defense, they get louder and they get more confrontational. And that's when they want to get up and stomp out of the room. They will want to turn the desk over or a chair, knock over a chair and leave out the room and talk about how racist you are. And if you now feel that your feelings have hurt and that you're not taking this and you're not going to be subjected to this type of thing in front of your class, now you're playing right into their hands. Okay. And again, professionally, you are absolutely correct. You should not be taking any of this and subjected to any of it in the first place. But reality is, it's there. And when you are talking to the parents, or when the school is now saying, well, you need to write this up, one thing I ask you to do is write all of your notes freshly, but don't write the report at that particular time, because you're only human. And as soon as you write the report at that time and submit it, the anger is still there. The anger on your part of what has just happened to you, the confrontation that you have just had. So now when you're writing up the report, that anger is coming through in the written report, as opposed to writing it a couple of hours later when you're a little calmer and when the situation isn't as brisk in your feelings. And with all of this being said, it's like, well, wait a minute. You're dealing with a hot-headed student at this time. You didn't go to college to have to do this. And very few colleges and universities deal with classroom discipline, regardless of what we say. We put you in a course that talk about classroom discipline, classroom management, classroom control. And the first thing we do is we talk about these nice little students that are going to do anything and everything that we ask of you. Well, that's unrealistic, okay, when you actually get in the classroom. And so what we're asking you to do, and this is why we say that usually until you're in your 4th or 5th year, you're just flying by the seat of your pants, that those first few years that you're out there. So what we're asking you to do is to maintain your core discipline. And one of the things that you can do is don't dumb expectations down for the students. In other words, I'm telling you to have empathy for the students. Have empathy for the students, not sympathy. The moment you start sympathizing, that's the moment that when everyone else's paper is due, you're going to allow that student, oh, well, they may not have had food that night or that day, so you're not going to require them to have the paper. Empathize with them that they didn't have food or they didn't have a place to write that paper, but they still had to have the paper in. The moment you start lowering expectations, the moment they're going to stop meeting them. Keep the bar just as high for those students as you do any other student in your class, including, and I will go back to this, including decorum within the classroom. If you expect all of your other students to sit there, to have control of their behavior, then you expect that from these students as well. And even if you don't have detention or whatever, but after the class is over, you ask to speak to them for a moment, and you speak to them about their disruptive behavior. And you let them know, I'm not calling you out in front of your friends or in front of your other classmates. However, if I get this behavior from you again, I'm not going to do it quietly. I will have you sent to the office, or I will have you sent to detention or wherever your school system send them. So now you're giving them fair warning. So the next time it happens, don't say, Jim, did I tell you about that? No, because I'm going to be begging off again, and I've got you in my pocket. So what I'm saying is the next time it's done, you have to follow through and send me out. Oh, it's going to happen. Now, you have done fair warning with me. You have sent me out. Now, when I come back, I'm going to be embarrassed. But don't let me just come back and come into the classroom. Confront me before we get back in there. And you say, Jim, we went over this. Is everything okay now? You understand that you can't do this in my class, correct? And I'm going to be hot at you, and I'm going to mumble jumble about, well, yes, I do, but yeah, leave me alone, you know. But you've told me already. So when I come in, I'm going to be surly, but at the same time, I now know your expectations, and I have to follow through. As long as you don't follow through, I'm not going to follow through. But is it going to hurt your feelings? Yeah, you're going to have hurt feelings as well. A part of the cultural aspect that I know, and I'm sorry, Heather used to be in the class. We used to have a book called Nappy Hair that we used in the class. And one of the things that we did is we would have people touch one another's hair. We would have minorities touch majorities' hair. We'd have majority touch minorities' hair. And one of the things is, sometimes you never even touched another person of a different race or heritage. And we go by what we were taught as kids. Oh, well, their hair feel like Brillo pads, or oh, their skin is this, and oh, well, they've got the cooties or whatever, you know. And it's so out in left field that we would do it on a cultural thing just to make you touch someone from the, and then talk about your feelings. Talk about, well, what it felt like. And you talk about it openly. Now you're getting to the point of, well, wait a minute, we can dispel some of these things. And we do another thing that we call media stereotypes. You would bring in a stereotype that you got, whether from television, magazine, music industry, wherever. And we would put it up and we would ask, how many of you see a stereotype? How many of you do not? And how many of you are not sure what you're seeing? And then we would have the person explain what they saw as a stereotype. And in doing that, now you have a class discussion about whether that's true, whether it's not true. Well, what's the perception? Why is that true? And we would do things like someone would easily bring in a picture of Obama eating watermelon, okay? And of course, and have a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken in front of them. And then, okay, it's really funny and everyone would laugh. And then we'd go around and we would say, well, okay, how many of you eat watermelon? How many of you eat fried chicken? And so, of course, 99% of the hands would go up in there. And then you try to explain to them, why is that perception there? And we would go through things trying to make them fight through their own perception of cultural images. And we try to tell them, if every African American that liked fried chicken were the only ones buying fried chicken from Kentucky Fried Chicken, they would quickly go out of business. So obviously, franchises like Kentucky Fried Chicken, Popeyes, places that are selling chicken constantly, Their customers can't only be African American. So when you start getting into dispelling some of the myths with the students in the class, um, their feelings start changing. They start erasing some of the stereotypes because we let them understand that yes, we take bits and pieces of the truth and we apply it randomly to a large circular group of people, and you can't do that. And quite frankly, you have to do the same thing with minority students because in the minority community, as we speak, their parents telling their kids right now, well, you don't trust those old white people. Oh, they all lie. You can't they just cover each other's back. Oh yeah, they know that that person said this to you or said that to you. That is being taught every day, almost every second of the day. Okay. And so when those students are coming in, they're coming in with their biases as well. This is why I said to you at the very beginning, don't allow them to say, you're doing this, or you're doing this because I'm black. Confront them. Well, why would you say that? When have you ever seen me do something to you? Because, or you, any other African American here because of the color of their skin? And tell them, you have your biases and you're trying to work through them. Maybe I have my biases that I'm trying to work through as well. And again, you have to make sure that you're not playing defense with these kids. Oh, they're good. They are good. And they will come back at you with things to make you feel, well, wow. And again, you have consequences that you need to worry about. Most of them don't. If they get put out of a school system one place, they're going to another school system. You get dismissed because of racial confrontation with a student. What other school district is going to touch you with a 10-foot pole? So you have further consequences that you have to worry about. So yes, handle things with kid gloves, but make sure that you are confronting these problems up front. Don't dance around them. Now, on the other hand, it's not you alone. I was hinting at it at first. Your school and or your school district, and I'm telling you now, not just African American, but at this point, if your school or your school district are not bringing in Latino, Hispanic, or African Americans in the school, not just as teachers, but if anything, to handle disciplinary issues or issues of suspension, issues of behavior within the classroom, because I guarantee you the parents will come. If any of you have had to deal with the parents got their kids back 100% when they come through the door. So if the kids say that this person is racist, mom and dad, when they come through the door, they already got this attitude that they're racist. Now, all of a sudden, the person that they have to confront about racial issues at the school is a person of color themselves. And you've already neutralized that argument with them. You've already neutralized that argument. Your kid is being disciplined or suspended because of their activity, their behavior within the school, their violation of school protocol or school rules, not because of the color of their skin. So you've already got that neutralized. However, if in this day and age, because the students, social media, because of mainstream media, they see what's happening every day within the school systems. They are going to follow through with that. And what I mean by that, you're talking about Ferguson, you're talking about New York, you're talking about Arizona, you're talking about San Francisco, where all of these incidents of death by police officers because of, and at the hands of white police officers with African Americans. Those conversations are taking place in the kids' homes every day. And you're talking to someone who has been through that. I'm a child of the 60s. And I mean, I was in college in the 60s with the riots. Okay. So I'm not a youngster. And everything that we went through then is resurfacing now. The frustration is building up. And if you really want to know what's going on with these young people culturally, many of them will tell you right up front, we're not going to live long anyway. So we might as well make the best of our life now. So we're going to confront these issues. So they don't mind going out there confronting issues. And where we were even cautious about things that we were doing. We knew we were either going to go to Vietnam and get killed, or we were going to be killed within neighborhoods because they say you didn't belong there, or that you looked at a white woman somewhere along the line, and so you're going to get hung or you're going to get beat up. And so all of those things were in our makeup. So we decided we were going to confront these things. And they talk to you about Martin Luther King day in and day out. But people in my generation, none of us were following Martin Luther King. We were following Malcolm X. We were following the Black Panthers. We weren't out there with them, but their mindset was the mindset that we were following. We were following SNCC. Okay, even though SNCC said Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, those were not, they were the most violent ones there. They were more violent than the Black Panther Party ever were. And SNCC was an organization formed by Martin Luther King. But then it was taken over by Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown. And when those individuals take something over, it was more violent. Now we're going back to today. Some of these same things are resurfacing, and kids are getting hot. Now, you say, well, these young kids aren't out there with that. No, they're not. But they're going home and they're getting on social media, and they're getting it from social media. They're getting it from their parents. Their parents or neighbors are sitting on the stoop or in another room talking about, well, these white people this, these white people that. And the kids in another room, and they're hearing it and they say, well, if those people are saying it, it must be true. So now I'm going to school and I don't care what a white person tell me. I have mistrust there. So I'm trying to make you understand it's not just something that you are doing incorrectly. What's happening socially in the country is being transformed into your schools. Are you ready for it? You may feel that you've gotten all the education that you need. I've gone to school. I don't need somebody talking to me about these particular issues. And I'm telling you, yes, you do. And one of the main things that's not just you, it's your school district, it's your school building. Now you say, well, we don't have money to bring in new teachers. We don't have, well, they don't have to be teachers. I'm telling you, your school system need to start investing in a liaison person, if nothing else, and have those be people of color, even if it's a person that a stand-in person that disciplinary issues go to before they go to the principal, before they go to the assistant principal in charge of discipline. Have another layer in there that goes in before. Something, otherwise you're going to continuously get it. Now, we're here in Green Bay. And quite frankly, the individuals that are moving in from Chicago and from Milwaukee are a total different student and a total different educational mindset than are the students that's already here. If you're going to be honest with yourselves there, you're getting the same thing because your student population is coming in there from Parents are moving from Chicago, from Milwaukee. They don't want their kids in those particular environments. But when they get there, sometimes those were the kids who were the leaders of some of the incidents there in the other place. And I'm a professor here in Green Bay, but I'm also I'm a commissioner. I'm a police and fire commissioner for the city of Green Bay. And so we get to these issues every day. And we get the reports and go over the reports with the police chief every month. We sit down as a group and go over this. Now, quite frankly, we pulled together a commission, the police, ministers, concerned community people, business people, parents, to try to prevent here in Green Bay what has already happened in New York and in Ferguson, in Arizona. We've been trying to set up things to prevent that type of thing. Is it going to work? We don't know. We're sitting on a powder keg here in Green Bay right now. People understand that, and some are trying to do things about it. Others are just really ready to blow everything up. And in Oshkosh, we don't know what your city fathers are doing, but you're going to get some of the same things. You're going to get some of these same issues. School board wise, you can't tell the school board anything, but you can make requests to your administrators, suggestions, ideas. You can make suggestions to your principal about bringing in a parent or two. Now, are you going to be able to find a parent or two that's willing to do it? Not necessarily, because they know that once they're in there, they're going to be subjected to name calling and abuse within the community, including negative terms like Uncle Tom or you're just a chauffeur for the white man. All of that verbiage will be thrown at them. This is why, it's better to try to get someone who has the educational background to take positions of that magnitude. But your school system honestly need to step forth as well. Now, Heather knows me. I lecture for 3 hours, and that's not necessarily what you want. So I am going to try to slow down here and let you ask questions.
Yeah, we have about 10 minutes left.
Oh, my Lord.
No. I was just gonna. Does anyone have a specific question? Otherwise, I had a couple I could ask. What's your question? Mr. Marshall, our principal, is here, and he had a question.
Sure.
What was it? He can't hear us, so you have to talk in the phone.
Oh, okay.
Our mic isn't working.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I kind of got in to about maybe 15 or 20 minutes of your presentation, so I might have missed a little bit of what I wanted to ask. But I know you had mentioned that sometimes students will say something like, oh, you're doing this, that's racist, or you're doing this because I'm black, or you're discriminating. And a couple of teachers, and I had heard this from a certain group of students last year, and kind of at the end of the year, I pulled them into my office and I kind of did a little history lesson with them about what, discrimination looks like and what has really happened in the past. And I just wondered if you could comment a little bit about, how I just feel like sometimes when students are making those kind of comments, they're kind of belittling the whole effort that happened in the 60s and just not really, I think they're overstating what they're feeling.
And I think you are right on target with each and every one of those comments. Not only are they overstating it, part of the reason that they're doing it is because some of them know and understand that racism is still alive and well. They don't know when they see it, they may feel it. And even if it's not hands-on, they do feel it. But what I'm asking you to do with those students, again, point out specifics. Don't let them just say it and get away with it, because they are belittling. And when you're saying it, when they're saying it, it's like, okay, it's a catch-all. Let me throw it out. Let me get their reaction. And again, it's a tendency for white society to immediately get defensive and say, oh, no, I'm not. Why would you say that? Well, my feelings are hurt. Why would you say? Instead of confronting them, please show me where I'm being racist. What is it that I did to you? What is it that you've ever seen me do to any student that's racist? And if they come up with some specifics on something, which 9 times out of 10 they will not, then again, don't sit there and argue with the student about it. That is something that I will address. That is something that I will look into. And if you indeed find something there, I will check myself. But at this point in time, I'm asking you not to try to label me and any of our other teachers with the idea that we are racist just because we are disciplining you. Think about your actions. And that's what I'm asking you again. Confront them, put them on the defensive, and ask, why do you feel that way? Why are you telling me I'm racist? Part of the thing in the 60s, again, and I'm one of them, we integrated the schools. We had riots every day at my high school. Went to a very large high school. And when we got to the school, we had our black teachers had to have master's degrees to teach us in high school. We got to the white school, we had teachers that had AA degrees teaching. And so we had these type of confrontations. They couldn't tell us apart. We had 3 students by the name of Coates in the class. They didn't know Terrence from James to Jonathan. And we'd always get the grades mixed up. They would always. So, well, all of your family members, right? No, we just met each other when we came to the school. So it would be things of this magnitude. And those are little incidents that bordered on racism. What you're going through now, what your kids are doing, are things that they're getting from the media. And you cannot overemphasize it. They're out in the hallway on their cell phones right now that are hearing about the riots that are going, not riots, but the demonstrations that are going on someplace. And so the moment they come back in to your classroom, if you say good morning, if your good morning didn't sound right to them, oh, they said that because they were being racist against me. And as an administrator, you're the one that's got it hardest, because I was telling the faculty that you have there, as soon as your parents come in, your parents they already got their kids back 100%. And it's you, no matter how you try to explain it to them. And you can tell they'll sit there with the legs crossed, the arms folded. They're in that defensive position. They want to be able to say, but if you have that layer of communication, that layer of bringing in a minority, whether regardless of what their role is, if the role that they can have that position prior to any incidents getting to you, because you ultimately, it's your school. You're the one who ultimately have to make the final decision on expulsion, suspension, detention, whatever. And of course, they're going to blindly say, you did it because my student was black. But one of the things is, and I again, your school district is noted for its academic standards. I would not let them fold by not keeping all students to that same academic rigor, and not to say, to pass them along, what we call social promotion. You don't want to go back to that. Keep them, and if no other rigor, if you can't keep them to the academic rigor, I implore you to keep them to the disciplinary rigor. If you expect all students to behave within your school, don't make excuses for someone else because of the color of their skin. Well, I don't want to have a racial problem on my hand.
I also just think that it's good for us to not to be. It would be good for us not to be shy to have thoughtful conversations about what's going on right now in our country with these things going on, like what happened in Missouri and all that. But how do we get that to a middle school level that's appropriate to talk about in class, that's a respectful conversation, so that we're not alienating, police, or alienating, African American students, or alienating. I mean, it's good for us to talk about these things. I would argue that we should look at these for opportunities to talk instead of just brushing it under the rug and pretending it doesn't exist.
Well, absolutely. Well, Heather had me for class, and she knows that they had to do little dramatizations within the classroom. And with that dramatization, you had to talk to us and teach us about another culture or a stereotype. And then you had open discussion. You would have open discussion, and you can do it. You had to do it from a PK-12 level. So you could pick any grade. You could be for pre-kindergartners right through to senior high school. And you had to make sure that that dramatization was on that level. Now, after that dramatization was over, you had group discussion, then you had open class discussion. And each person, regardless of who it was, got an opportunity to have input. Now you say, well, what are they going to get out of that? When they leave, they are going to help dispel a lot of their beliefs or myths about another culture, about another race, and even openly talk about it, especially like things with the police. All policemen, white policemen hate black people, and I was just telling the group there, I'm part of the Police and Fire Commission here for the city of Green Bay. We hire, fire, discipline every police and every fireman in the city of Green Bay. We go over this, and we have issues with this right now. The number of African American, the number of Latino, the number of Hmong police that we are hiring or not hiring. When we go into major arguments about this, and we're doing this with the chiefs at the table, we're doing this with Green Bay human resource officers at the table. So the same thing need to take place within in your school districts, not just yours, but all around the country. The kids need to talk about this, and every kid doesn't necessarily need someone that look like them in the position of leadership, but they need someone that can relate to them. Again, someone that has some form of, and I used this earlier, empathy, not sympathy. When you sympathize with them, you begin to lose sight of where the target is. And the target is educating these students. It is not always about Tom, Dick, and Jane, a spot. It's not just about educating them in that manner. The education about being a functional, contributing member of society is also important. And as a part of that, if they are going to go out and be sanitation workers, they still need to have the comportment to be able to be a decent human being. And a lot of that is learned within the school system. If the school system forgets me, if the school system say I'm a throwaway, I'm going to believe that I am a throwaway. And regardless, and as a teacher, if one of my teachers tell me that, well, you're nothing, James, you're nothing. You're never going to amount to anything. If I didn't have a fantastic support system with me, I might go over in a corner and start truly believing that I am going to be combative with that person at the time. But now I'm going to go over and go home and I'm going to think, well, wow, I'm really never going to be anything. Well, maybe I should go out and sell drugs. The teacher told me, and I really like that teacher. And if that's the teacher that tell me I'm nothing, then I'm going to be nothing. So these are things that we need to confront. Okay, I see everybody leaving on me.
No, I was just coming to grab the phone. Our bell just rang, but we just wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us about everything that you shared. And if we have some follow-up questions, would that be okay if we email them to you?
And you most definitely can. Now I will be out of town until January 26th. And so, but you have my numbers and you have that. And I'm sorry, I apologize to your faculty, but you know how I am. I lecture for 3 hours, so for 45 minutes.
Yeah. We appreciate your insight and your time, and thank you. I know it took a while to get on Friday to get this all set up, and then today. So we just appreciate you doing this.
Well, Heather, I want to give you something, and your principal's still there because I wanted to give you. Oh, okay. I wanted to give you three names here in Green Bay that I'm sure. One is Dexter McNabb. He's an assistant principal over at West High School. He used to be a fullback with the Packers. And then there is a guy named Clarence Crane. Clarence Crane is a special education teacher and at-risk teacher at Bayport High School here in Green Bay. And and I know he's going to beat me up. The other guy, I'm forgetting his name. Right, I'm having a Governor Perry moment here. He's in charge of discipline over at Preble High School. Oh, Tommy Jennings. Tommy Jennings is his name. I'm sorry. Why I couldn't remember. Okay, and those three individuals. Okay, I know because we meet as a group from time to time to talk about discipline of minority students in the Green Bay School District, and so they're administrators and teachers, and they would give you some great insight as well from their school. All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right, y'all have a great day and have a great holiday. All right, bye.